What's up, my good people of the internet? Happy to be here with you, hanging out where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I cannot appreciate you enough for being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. with us all around the world on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both / Wake Up Call DT. You're also finding us by going to wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're tuning in with the show, thanks for listening and watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora all around the world. With that being said, here on the broadcast, you know that every other Tuesday, we have the opportunity, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. bi-monthly, to bring you Christy's Corner. And Christy's Corner featuring Christy Salters-Martin, the International Boxing Hall of Famer, who has also written a book and put that out for us. She's been on Netflix specials and specials all throughout. She's had the opportunity to connect with us in so many different ways through so many different pieces of media. She continues to promote today and does a tremendous job bringing boxers together, bringing people together, bringing lovers of the sport together. She is the consistent message of what it means to pay it forward and to give back, and we appreciate her so much for that. She is joined, of course, by boxing photographer and the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox, which proudly brings you Christy's Corner exclusively, that being Miss Pat Orr. And today's very special guest, we have boxing Bob Newman of FightNews.com. So a lot of great stuff coming up here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. So let me say welcome to Christy, to Bob, and to Pat. Hello and good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Dan.
Christy and Bob.
So, Christy, I'll start with you here and just kind of what my intro was in the fact that you have done so much throughout your life to give back. Obviously, you were given opportunity and you fought really hard for those opportunities. And Don King reaching into a world that a lot of people hadn't ventured in and promoting a female boxer, and then you promoting everything that you've done from your career forward to help people out, both male and female, to see what you can do in this world of creating, doing things different, doing things in a positive and productive way, and showing people that you care. So I meant exactly what I said in the intro, and I'd love to know why you pay it forward the way that you do.
No, Dan, geez, God gave me a great opportunity that no one really believed in or thought that could really work or catch on, by this crazy boxing career that I had, hooking me up with Don King and just growing and getting out there. But also from my parents instilled in me from the word go that you can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. You have to work hard, bust your butt, and get out there and look for success. And that's what I've always tried to do. And I try now, being on this side of the promotion, to give other fighters an opportunity to showcase their skill, to achieve their dream. I mean, so many people, you don't start boxing, I don't personally think, you don't start boxing to be an opponent. So everybody starts boxing thinking they're going to be a champion. And as you go along with your career, you learn where you're going to fit in the boxing world. But I really, really want to give young fighters an opportunity to put that green belt or one of those world championship belts around their waist.
Yeah, and you and I have talked many times about the opportunities and the different things that you're working to create and the things that you're looking to do. What kind of drives you and gets you so amped up and excited about it? Why do you like seeing other people in the ring?
I'm a fight fan, obviously. I've been a fight fan for a very long time. But when you start to learn the backstories of the guys that I work with as personally, and to know that you're part of their success and part of their step up that ladder. And it's exciting for me. It's exciting. Obviously, I want to see good fights like we saw Saturday night. Crawford and Spence was a very entertaining fight, very one-sided, but entertaining if you're on the Crawford side, and we were, so that was good for us. I just think that boxing, as much negativity as it receives, it also has given so many fighters a way out. It's given them a path to success, whether it be their success might not be in boxing, but boxing helped build them and give them an opportunity to do something outside the ring.
Yeah, and those opportunities and creating those chances for somebody to obviously grow and to learn and to evolve. And we have a special guest here on the broadcast this morning here in Christy's Corner inside a wake-up call, and that's Boxing Bob Newman. Bob and I got to know each other yesterday as we kind of talked going into this and learning a little bit about his history. So I want to bring Bob in here. Bob, how you doing today?
Really good, Dan. Thanks. And yourself?
I'm doing very well. And Bob, I mean, for you, this has been an interesting journey. I know that you shared it with me yesterday, but I'd love for you to kind of share your connection to boxing and, becoming a photojournalist and working with fightnews.com and being one of the longest serving members on the staff since back in 1999. So just what you could say about how you got started in this and your passion for it as well.
Well, it's I am old enough to remember, the early 70s and Ali and Frazier being on television. My dad was a fan. And for me, I saw some of those fights, but what really galvanized my interest was in 76 and watching the U.S. Olympic team in Montreal and seeing all their fights. And some of those guys, I was 12 years old then. And, Leo Randolph, a flyweight gold medalist, was only 18. So, he was only a few years older than me. And being a skinny kid, I mean, Pat and Christy met me, and I know you probably wouldn't believe I was a skinny little wimpy kid, but just, getting beat up and things like that and not defending myself and being real emotional and not wanting to fight back, I would look at those kids on that Olympic team, those young men, and just in awe of them. How do you stare down an opponent across the ring from you and not be afraid? And it wasn't until, many years later, reading and learning a lot about what, Custom Metal taught Mike Tyson, everybody's afraid. It's what you do with the fear and how you kind of channel it. So, fast forwarding into the 80s, I remember going out to buy a VCR in 1985 specifically for the Larry Holmes David Bay fight. But why I was going to record it, I don't know. I just had this urge. I wanted to record that fight, and I've not stopped recording and collecting fights ever since then. And then moving into the internet era, my brother who works in the computer world started learning how to build websites, and he helped me build a website basically as a vehicle to get credentials to cover boxing matches. And I created my own website.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, but what I did is eventually joined up with Fight News, who was starting at the same time in the late 90s as my website was. And I didn't have to do the work of, maintaining the website and so on and so forth. And they really gained traction and had a lot of sponsors and became, really the forefront of all boxing, web-based media. And, from that point on, that was how I got my foot in the door. My mom wouldn't let me fight, but, she said, you have too many brains, so you use it in a different way. So, I joined Fight News and basically haven't looked back.
Yeah, and I appreciate you telling that story and connecting with us, kind of where you came from and your love for it. And like you said, you started taping it. You didn't know why you did it that first fight, but you've been taping them and keeping them ever since. We have Pat Orr here with us, the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox, which I should just say the owner of some of the greatest food that this world has ever seen. And so, with that being said, you're welcome. also a boxing photographer. By the way, I did get my shrimp tacos before I went on the road to Texas and North Carolina. I want to let everybody know that. So, Pat, you've seen a lot of different things through the lens as well. And, in the coming weeks, I have some ideas of going a little bit deeper into, your story. But to just share, for you, you hear Bob talk about, for some reason, he wanted to get that VCR and he wanted to start taping fights. You've seen so many things through your lens as they're happening. And you've told me really incredible stories about how you were ready for a shot when a bunch of people were kind of just sitting, they're eating popcorn, having a soda, and you're up there and you've grabbed some of the best shots by always being ready so you didn't have to get ready. So I'd love for you to kind of just dive a little bit more into the through the lens story from your point of view.
Dan, like shooting boxing, you see a different fight than people do sitting in the stand and people watching on TV, because you're only seeing parts of it because you're concentrating on getting the shots. A lot of times I can't even tell you who won the fight unless there was a knockdown. Just by the action and stuff through the lens is a little different, and I think Bob can confirm that. And like the fight you're talking about was the Tyson Holyfield one, and I was at the MGM Grand. I never got to be ringside at the MGM Grand. I was always up top. Well, up top was behind the last seat in the house, and it was on scaffolding. And there was tons of people on the scaffolding, most of them with point-and-shoot cameras, or their little Canon Rebels and stuff like that, that, they couldn't, he's going to look like a pencil dot in the lens, it's not, you're not going to get anything that's usable. And I had a 400 millimeter lens with a 2X extender on it. And it was, everybody's eating popcorn and drinking beer. They're up there for a party. And I think I was the only one that had a camera up to my face. And when I saw Tyson going down, I yelled, "Oh, Tyson's going down," just to get them all excited as my shutter was continuously going and getting stuff. Popcorn was flying, drinks were flying, beer bottles were flying off the scaffolding for them trying to get their camera. And, they didn't get anything. So it was kind of like a joy moment for me because I was the only one working up there. And, the rest of them were up there just watching the fight. And that's what they did. And in boxing, people get credentials just if they're friends with somebody. So there's so many people in boxing that shouldn't have credentials, particularly the photographers. You got to see if somebody comes in with a point-and-shoot camera. They're not going to get anything from up top, so they shouldn't be credentialed. But they get them, and they do it. And it's a frustrating part when you're there actually doing work and you know what you're doing, to have to compete with, people that just get in your way. But it was exciting that night, and I actually did get the shots, but I didn't know until I got home because I didn't have a place to develop my film. So, and I had to push process. So when I push process and I got home, and my boss looked at me and goes, "Geez, you got a really nice shot here," So, and it was probably the one that Ratner, the commissioner, bought one. He bought one for the judges, friends in the crowd in the background of the shot, and for the referee. And so it was that was probably my proudest moment in boxing as a photographer.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, there's always that notion of be ready so you don't have to get ready, and you were exactly that. So we're all talking about fights. It's time to talk about Spence Crawford. I'm gonna go to Christy first on this. Bob, last night when we were talking on the phone, was very, very adamant about how he kind of felt about it. He laid a little note in there last night. So I'm gonna get to everybody on this, but Christy, I'm gonna start with you. Spence Crawford, bring me into it through your eyes.
Well, so I have a little background first. Crawford is one of those guys that I wasn't sure he had dog in him. And when he fought Sean Porter, I know Sean Porter has dog in him. I know that he can dig deep, and he's just a junkyard dog, Sean Porter, in the boxing ring. Yeah. And I was going against Lisa and said, no, Porter's going to upset him.
Yeah.
And she loves Bud Crawford. Oh, my gosh, she loves her some Bud. So she says, nope. So I actually lost the bet to her. We go to the Hall of Fame, not this year, but last year. Bud Crawford was there. Lisa tells Bud that I don't think he's got any dog in him. Of course, I'm across the room. Now here comes Bud Crawford walking to me. Oh, so you don't think I got any dog in me, huh? Like, no, you changed that. But I'm like, I just thought you were like a kind of a nice guy. I didn't know that you could get dirty and dig deep. So I took that and I was 100%, well, I'll say 99% Crawford's going to win this fight because he proved to me, he showed me, no, he's got the dog in him. And Spence just didn't seem, to me, he seems injured. He seems something's just not the same. Or that was pre-fight. I just wasn't sure something was the same. But let me tell you, Crawford had the perfect game plan. Lots of people can have the perfect game plan, but he executed the perfect game plan. I mean, from word go, he totally dominated the fight and made it look easy, I thought. And he also, I feel like Crawford sometimes starts slow. He started this fight on his game, fast, quick. He was dictating the pace from the beginning. He controlled the movement in the ring. He controlled when they did fight, when they didn't fight. He was the aggressor. To me, it was just really from round one a matter of time.
Yeah,
But even though seemed like it was really one-sided, it was a great fight for boxing because we finally get two guys in the ring together that the fans have been clamoring to see for a long time. So great for Bud Crawford. He is definitely, in my opinion, he is the face of boxing now, and hopefully he'll just continue to get bigger and better fights because he's a good dude. I think he's a good dude. He supports his family, and just seems like like the guy next door.
So, Pat, you were agreeing when Christy was saying that he dictated the fight. What were your thoughts?
I think I haven't seen him fight. I haven't seen any of his fights. I've only met him at the Hall of Fame and talked to him, and he seems like a real humble, genuine person. And at the Hall of Fame induction weekend, he was talking to every champion he could, and they wanted to see him. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to take pictures with him because, I think the champs of the past and the current champs know that he's the legit product. He's got it all, and if he can perform against Spence the way we think he is, then he is the legit guy in boxing right now. When you have the personality that he has and the humbleness, it was so refreshing to see him being excited with the boxers of the past and stuff, and to be humble. And, he was honored to meet them, and they were honored to meet him. So it seemed like they knew something that, everybody else just didn't know yet. And I thought the fight he definitely did dictate the fight from the start. And he was controlled, he was calm, and he was landing so many punches. And I think Spence just had a gaze in his eye that it just didn't look like he was there. I mean, there was something about Spence, and maybe he was hurt. Maybe the accident he was in caused more damage than people know, or that he's led on to. And I think he's a great guy too, but I think Spence climbed up the top of the ladder, and he's sitting up top right now, and he's gonna be in control of his destiny, I think.
I appreciate your thoughts, Bob. You kind of let off a little note to me last night. Your thoughts on this fight?
It's interesting, Dan. After you and I finished our conversation last night, I stumbled across a conversation with a gerontologist. So it's a doctor for the elderly, but who deals with a lot of dementia and other sorts of brain ailments. And his wife was also a physician. They were watching the fight. He happens to be a big boxing fan, and they were talking a lot about how they could notice it before the knockdowns, anything, that Spence was definitely affected. And they talked about how there was no lateral movement, which is one of the things that will happen to people that have, certain brain injuries, things like that. They can't move lateral, which he wasn't able to do. They also talked about the moment when the ring doctor came in that seemingly nobody asked for, and he didn't, assess Spence from outside the ropes. He was actually inside the ring, which was kind of odd, and a few people noticed that. So he was talking about the car accident, which leading up to the fight, and then immediately the day after the fight on social media. I don't normally engage too much, just because, again, just with my role with Fight News, I don't normally get on and draw back and forth with people, after the fact and say I told you so and things like that. But, I was, on the one hand, I was saying that I didn't think the car accident had anything to do with it, or I didn't want it to be used as an excuse. I felt that Bud was going to win regardless. I didn't think it was going to be that one-sided as it was. But after, listening to the physician talk last night and a lot of the input that he had, I do think that contributed to the one-sidedness. Not having, heard that as I was watching the fight, until a few days later, I was very excited and surprised with the ease with which Bud handled it. He was on point, and I just think as supremely prepared as he's ever been for any fight, and carried out, the game plan probably better than he has for any fight, and it was the biggest fight of his career. So, I don't want to take anything away from his accomplishment by, talking about the accident too much with Spence. I do think it affected him. I don't think either guy has faced someone quite like the other, but I do think Bud had some of those extra elements and those intangibles that a lot of Spence's previous opponents, just didn't have. I felt like, when people were making the car accident an excuse, I said, yeah, but he fought Danny Garcia and Yordenis Ugas after the car accident, and those were sooner after the accident than this. So he's had this much more time to heal and prepare, but I don't think it did him any favors taking the pinpoint hard shots that he took from Crawford. And what this doctor was saying is he should likely never fight again, period. Just, kind of cash out now and let that be that. And anybody that, puts him in the ring again, should really think twice about it. And they should have, perhaps have their licenses taken away just for his own health and safety, because really, I think the damage, I don't think is done. I think it's, there's going to be more down the line, neurologically going on with him. They talked a little bit about the alcohol and the smoking weed, which Spence is alleged to, take part in quite a bit. And people with head injuries and brain damage actually have an affinity for alcohol. And there have been rumors that, he was getting into a lot of heavy drinking, after his accident and during his recovery. And that and the weed are definitely things that don't help him. But, as far as the fight goes, it was about as exciting as a one-sided fight could be, only because I was a Crawford fan. So I couldn't have to see a fight, to see that fight go that well for Bud. I thought it was going to be close, and it was going to be challenging. Not that it wasn't challenging for Crawford, but he stepped up and met the challenge. So I couldn't have been more happy for him. And I wish Spence well with whatever he does.
Yeah, and that coming here from Boxing Bob Newman, photojournalist of FightNews.com. Of course, we're here with boxing photographer Pat Orr and the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox, the exclusive partner for Christy's Corner. And we're here with the champ, International Boxing Hall of Famer, Christy Salters-Martin. Christy, I have a question for you. Speaking of champ, your dog, Champ, bumped you out of first class recently, and I want to discuss that.
Yeah, so we were on our way to Myrtle Beach last Monday, and Champ, we're in first class. Champ wanted his mommy to hold him, and the attendants weren't buying it, and they brought some executive bigwig on to bump me back to coach, as if that was going to make him quiet down, moving him from first class to coach. and he still didn't stop barking and wanting his mommy to hold him. So they came back on the plane and kicked us off. But the funny thing, you know how karma works. That plane never left. We went. Champ and I got on another flight to Charlotte to Myrtle Beach, and in first class, he got out of his bag. I was allowed to hold him, and it was all good. So we kind of got, the last laugh. That flight didn't go. He still got to sit in first class, and I held him all the way. But it made it for a very long day.
But think about what he did though. Yeah. Champ barked, so you got bumped out of first class. Kept barking, so you got bumped off the plane. That plane never leaves, and he gets you on another plane, which ends up leaving, and he's in first class. So I think Champ, as much as you had to be patient, may be one of the smartest dogs out there.
He actually pulled a good one for me, because Monday I was supposed to leave. That was on Tuesday that happened. Monday I was supposed to leave. The flight was canceled. I got to the airport, didn't pay attention that the flight was canceled. They couldn't get me to Myrtle Beach in time for me to do the TV interview I was supposed to do. So I just thought I would leave on Tuesday morning. Yeah, you're right. I mean, had he not got me kicked off the flight, we would have missed the next one, and yep, wouldn't have made it to Myrtle Beach until Wednesday, probably.
Pat, you were saying something about it?
Well, think about this. Champ has to pay for his seat, and he's nervous and uneasy and whining a little bit, and he gets kicked off the plane. But you have kids and babies on the plane all the time. I've been on flights to Vegas where a kid cried the whole time. The kid didn't get kicked off the plane, so it's no different. They're paying for that kid's seat, but they're making it different because a dog is crying.
Well, and I
have to pay for. I have to pay for Champ every time. I mean, round trip it's $250 for Champ every time he goes, and he goes every flight. So.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you're mentioning it. There was a kid behind me that was screaming, and and to the point where I put my headphones in. I wasn't even listening to music. I just put my headphones in my ears so that I could drown out some of the screaming. And I mean, that's and I had somebody on the flight have a panic attack and start to get really upset. I mean, and that can cause the whole flight to get nervous. And we were in the air, we're flying, we're already up doing our thing. So I mean, I definitely think that a dog barking, as Pat so eloquently put it, is no different than a kid screaming on a plane. So it is interesting. Jason down in Florida is enjoying this conversation. Melanie said, I think I watched Christy's documentary on Netflix. She's awesome. So some good stuff coming in here for all of us.
Thank you, Melanie.
Before we get to, yes, thank you, Melanie. Before we get to rapid fire, because I promised Bob he could be a part of it today. Before we get to that, we talk about being ready for a fight. And Bob's been all around the world with fightnews.com and just following his passion. He's been to so many different places. The boxing sanctioning bodies he's been able to work with, all four of them, all throughout the world. We talked about China, Peru, Africa, bunch of places here. And Josh just wrote in, definitely have to have the pup. So, that's the thing. See, everybody is hashtag pro champ this morning. That's what I feel good about. But Bob, I want to go to you here because you were in South Africa for the first Lennox Lewis Hasim Rahman fight, and that was all about being prepared, and two totally different situations for both fighters. Lennox Lewis having the name, Rahman not having as big of a name, but they were in different places at different times. And going off of Spence Crawford, I'd love to get your thoughts on that, kind of connect it back.
Well, so I mentioned to you that I was staying with Hall of Fame referee Stan Christodoulou, and ironically, he actually did not go to the fight. Unfortunately, at that time, he had a little bit of a we talked about relationships and building relationships and everything, and he had a little bit of a souring in his relationship with the promoter at that time. So he wasn't going to be going to the fight, but he was going to be watching the fight at a screening, and I mentioned that because of the time difference, so that it could be seen prime time on HBO in the United States. I think Lewis came into the ring at 3 a.m. South African time. So they were having this champagne, steak and eggs breakfast or whatever at some big hall watching the fight on a huge screen. But I was there with a few other folks who I knew, and from other parts of the world, Japan and South Africa and England. And so we get there, and first of all, I get there, and because I was connected to Stan, even though I had confirmation that I had credentials, when we got there and it was just about midnight, suddenly I had no credentials. And luckily Stan had given me his phone number. He said, if there's any problem, you give me a call. So they had a bank of media phones there. So I called him, and he said, put me on the phone with whoever's, running the credentials. And I did. And next thing you know, they actually gave me someone else's ringside credentials. So I got in, and but going back to the weigh-ins the day before, Lewis, if I recall, weighed 253, and that tied the highest weight that he'd ever been in his career. He came later than he was supposed to because he was just finishing filming his roles in the Ocean's 11 movie with, ironically, there was a scene with him and Vladimir Klitschko actually having a fight. So he came late. He was not honoring a lot of his commitments with the promoter to do public appearances and, to schools with the children and a lot of different things. And he was really at odds. I think he got there like less than 10 days before the fight, which, you might think is enough to get over jet lag and acclimate yourself to the time difference and all that. Rockman had been there for a month and really ingratiated himself to the public. He made his appearances, but he was training. He was in really good shape. And it harkened, for me, back to the Ali Foreman fight that was in Zaire back in 74. And a similar thing happened where the champ, in this case Foreman, I think he had gotten cut or something in training, so he wanted to go back home, and they were going to postpone the fight. And I think it was Mobutu, the president of Zaire, wouldn't let him leave and made him stay the whole time. Ali stayed. Ali was there for a long time in advance, and the same thing, endeared himself to the public. He was getting the chance of, Ali Boumaier, Ali kill him, going in all the crowds, and it was a huge upset for that time because I think he was 32 or 34 years old, something like that, and Foreman was this, monster. And Rockman, basically kind of did the same thing, that the fans were in favor of him. The atmosphere was, really electric. And, it was seemingly an even fighter, if anything, in favor of Lewis up until the fifth round when he hit Lewis with a good jab in the middle of the ring, and Lewis backed up to the ropes, and Rockman followed him, and Lewis had his guard up in kind of a weird way where he put both of his arms up, like out in front of him, and Rockman fired a right underneath Lewis's left arm, caught him on the tip of the jaw, and he was out. And, as Pat can tell you, it's different from watching a fight on TV. There's a lot of things you don't see or hear that you do ringside, and I tell people all the time, Lewis fell right across from the corner, in his own corner actually, right across from the corner that I was shooting from, and I could hear his head hit the canvas like a bowling ball. And I was like, oh my God, he is out. And I think he beat the count, but just barely, but he was in no condition to continue. And it was a massive, massive upset. And, just, being at something like that. And I mentioned to you last night, I was able to, just through Stan Christodoulou turning down the offer to appear on a talk show the day before the fight, he dropped my name and said, I have somebody that you might want to have. And it turns out I was the only person besides the HBO crew in the media from America to go to that fight, because a lot of people just looked at it as a, kind of a no chance in hell for Rockman to win the fight. Yeah. And I even had, Hall of Famer just this past year, Brad Goodman from Top Rank said, I won't say it exactly how he said it, but he said, what in the heck are you going to South Africa for a bleep fight like that for? I said, because I have the opportunity to go, man. I have a place to stay. All I need is my plane ticket, and that's it. And everything else was, through the relationship that I built with Stan and taken care of for me. So, why not? And but that was coming from a guy who didn't like flying, and I had no problem. That's the only way to get places nowadays. I'm not going to get to South Africa paddling a boat, so I went, and I'm glad. I'm glad I went. It was a huge upset. I don't even think I would have predicted it, but it was a huge upset. But I was on the talk show the day before, and we talked about all those things: the atmosphere, the Rockman kind of endearing himself to the fans, and I just felt it was eerily similar to the atmosphere and the conditions of the Ollie Foreman fight. I wouldn't go out on a limb and say that Rockman was going to win, but I said all the ingredients are there for an upset, and I left it at that, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like you said, like you went over there, and people are like, why are you going over there? And then, to Pat's story of being prepared and standing up and being by her camera when everybody else was having a party in the rafters, why be ready? And it's because of, those incredible moments and the things that you got to do, which is pretty remarkable and amazing. And I definitely appreciate it and value it. I'm happy that you're both here on the show to talk about those moments. It's time to play rapid fire. Christy gets to go first. This is how we're going to run this thing. So we're going to involve Bob in this and here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So we're going to go Christy, Bob, me, Pat, and then we're going to go back. So Christy, you get to ask Bob the first question. What do you got?
Well, I have like a couple questions I could ask, but I think I could put Bob on the spot and say, hey, who's your favorite female fighter? But I won't do that. I will say, if there's one fight that you could make, whether it's a fighter that's active today or one from the past, you can put a past with an active fighter, put any fight together that you would like. What fight would it be?
Oh gosh.
Or maybe it's a fight that happened. Maybe it's Hagler Hearns. What would be like? What do you think is like the dream matchup?
Well, let me say, right now, I think one of the obvious dream matchups with a fighter from the past, somewhat from the past, he's still kind of lingering a little bit, and the fighter right now, let's have a welterweight fight between Bud Crawford and Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I like that.
Yep.
That's cool. All right, Bob, what's your question for me?
Oh, celebrity crush.
I love it.
Nice. This is the fun part for me is I can't get in trouble. So oh man, there's a few, but I'd probably have to say without doubt the timeless one. And I still watch the show. I was watching the show last night. Jennifer Aniston, all day. It's got to be Jennifer Aniston. It's got to be Jennifer Aniston. But it's also Rosario Dawson, and I mean there's other that could just fit right in that spot. Megan Good, but yeah, Jennifer Aniston. If she and I were in the same vicinity, I would ask her out because that's just who I am. That's how I roll. Mm-hmm. So I'd walk right up to her and ask her.
Well, I'm there with you in terms of not being able to name just one.
Yeah, that's how it's got to be.
I wasn't sure how this was going to go. I thought everybody would have to answer the same question, and then it would come back to me. So I was actually thinking of who mine were too, and there wasn't just one. But yeah.
Yeah.
You were thinking it was a boxing match, and you were being prepared.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, you gotta get
Ron Robin.
Gotta get ready here. All right, my question for Pat. Miss Orr. Let me think here. All right, Pat. All right, Pat. If you were a bumper sticker, what would it say?
Oh, Jesus, man. Oh my God.
I asked Pat this question because I want her to try and do it without swearing. I know what she wants to put on a bumper sticker. I know what she wants to put there.
Well, I'm probably going to swear. But from driving home from Myrtle Beach yesterday and all of the traffic I was in, 3-lane highways, the bumper sticker would probably say, "Move your ass to the right and get the fuck out of my way."
Oh, wow.
I hope you're ready for beep, beep,
Because I
beep.
was playing NASCAR on the way home, and I was bobbing and weaving, and I was going from the left lane to the right lane, over to the middle. Nobody stays in their lane.
Right.
And
That's
everybody
life.
would get to the place quicker if people would just stay to the right if there's faster cars behind.
Okay, there's a couple things I want to note. One, I'm happy that if I'm ever driving, I'm going to be with Pat and not on the road somewhere around her. Two, I have to be very thankful that we are not on traditional radio because there is no FCC on the internet. And three, I believe that Pat just dropped the first F-bomb of Wake Up Call's potential history ever. So I guess let's celebrate the fact that we heard it today. It's not a $350,000 fine. And apparently Wake Up Call is now totally primed for Sirius XM radio. So thank you for that, Pat.
Well, it was a long day yesterday, and that was my challenge of the day for like 14 hours.
I hear move your, and I hear the A word come out, and I go, okay, she said that before. Her and Christy went through like who can swear the most a few weeks ago, but to drop that F-bomb here, I mean, I'm just sitting here in my mind. I'm gonna, this might be an archive show that I just hold on to forever. And they're like, Dan, in the last 20 years, which will happen in November for me as a broadcaster, name your favorite shows. And I might do like a little piece of each. And I'd be like, the first time an F word was ever said on Wake Up Call, Pat Orr. So, all right, Pat, what's your question for me? Keep it cleaner. Let's even it out today.
Keep it cleaner. Let's see. First of all, did you watch the Crawford fight?
I did not get to see it. No, I didn't get to see it. So I had to go back and look. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I know it's football season for you,
Yes.
and you're covering all these conferences, and you're traveling all over.
Yes.
You were in Charlotte this weekend?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte for the ACC and Arlington, Dallas, Texas for the American before that.
Why the hell didn't you come to Myrtle Beach and watch the fight with us?
Because I was doing work the whole time. I actually had to miss the first day of the ACC in order to go to the American. I like the fact that when I was literally at the airport my first day, Pat sent me a text message and said, "Are you home yet?" And I was like, I just left. Like, I just got on the road. But no, I mean, I have no problem going to Myrtle Beach. And actually, one of my best friends, Isaac Elford, he was out in South Carolina as well. So when I was in North, he was in South. And we were only an hour and a half away from each other. And if I was going to be there a little bit longer this past week, I was going to go visit him. So yeah, there was a good possibility that it could happen, but I was trying to get home on Friday, and I actually had to fly into Buffalo and drive from Buffalo. And I was telling Christy off the air, thank God I didn't wait in LaGuardia, because the flight I didn't make, the one after it that was like hours after, it got canceled. So I would have waited for like 6 hours in the airport for a canceled flight.
Yeah, they rescheduled me on a flight to Boston and then to Syracuse, but I couldn't get from Myrtle to Charlotte to catch that flight, and then it got delayed and I would have missed it. So I would have been stuck in Boston if I did my flight the way American set it up.
Yeah.
So that's why I drove and tortured myself for all those hours.
So yes, I would have liked to come, and yes, we all need to get together very soon. Thank you, Pat, for A, swearing, and B, putting me on the spot today. All right, Bob. Pat's she's got energy today, and we need to target it. We need to put it toward Taco Tuesday. That's where the energy needs to go. So let's see
Dan,
here.
hold on one second,
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah.
Dan and Pat and Bob, if you want, August 18th, which is Friday, on the Zone. My lightweight, not light heavyweight, lightweight Tony Aguilar will be fighting on the Zone and Jake Paul promotion show down in Orlando. So there you go.
Yeah,
Let's all meet up in Orlando.
So
August 18th.
So here's the thing, low key, around that day, around like 18, 19, I have to go back. I actually have to go back down to Florida. So if I can make that work, I was already turning my sights toward that. So if I can do that on a later flight, what time is the flight? Or what time is the fight? What time
The
did you say?
fight, good question. Probably starts at 7.
Okay. All right. I could potentially make that happen.
I have 4 food truck jobs. The 18th and 19th.
Hey, you know what, Pat? No excuses.
Well, so, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know that I got to go back down to Florida in the middle of August. So, okay. So now I get to ask Bob a question. Let's get me off the hot seat. All right, Bob. We had a lot to talk about yesterday off the air. So, I'm going to throw you a total curveball, something that we didn't talk about yesterday. If you could pick 3 songs for the rest of your life to play in your car, what 3 songs could just be enough for you forever?
Oh man, you know what? I whenever I hear these things, I'm glad it's 3 and not 1, because I could never just pick one, and I'm a big music head. But man, I would have to try to pick some from a couple different genres. Oh man, let me think about it. So, I think one of them would be, oh man, I can't even think of the name of the song. It's by Macklemore. It's what was that big hit he had?
The one.
Put Our Hands Up.
Yeah, it's the one that I know. I know the entire Macklemore song. I know the entire one you're talking about. And so it's because I always quote, "I got the city right behind me. If I fall, they got me." So.
So we put our hands up.
Yeah, that song. I know the one you're.
So whatever that song is, that's one.
Okay.
Oh man, so that'll be for like my whatever, like the hip hop kind of dance genre. I'm a heavy metal guy, so holy cripes. I would have to say maybe. Well, I don't even think you guys gotta know this, but Adios by Rammstein. They're a German heavy metal band, and
Okay.
that song I could just wreck my neck to, just banging my head.
Okay.
And wow, you know what? Probably anything. I don't want to be cliche and say Cats in the Cradle, but anything by Harry Chapin, because my dad introduced me to him as a kid, and my dad's gone now, but
Sorry.
that was like an artist that we kind of bonded over, and now I have so much more appreciation for him, as I am actually now older than my dad when he passed away. But that I did it at the time, when I was younger. But it was kind of a thing that we bonded over, and that was his favorite artist. And I've since kind of uncovered some documentaries of Harry Chapin and so on and so forth. But I'd probably say anything by him. So that kind of comes in the folksy genre.
Okay.
Cool.
And you said it's "Can't Hold Us" by Macklemore, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
So "Can't Hold Us." I love when I quote that, and then people go, "Who's Macklemore?" And I'm like, he came out like a few years ago. I mean, it's not like he came out like 80 years ago. The man's been out for a while, and he's like mainstream. He's still doing stuff, but whatever. So, all right, Bob, your
I don't even listen to radio, but
yeah.
I know who he is because you can't not,
Yeah. Boxing Bob Newman listens to Wake Up Call and Macklemore. That's it. all right, Bob, what's your question for Christy?
Oh, goodness. All right, I gotta think something here. Well, let's see. I know you have Champ right now. So you must be an animal lover. How many pets have you had since you were a kid, if you can think of? And were they only just dogs?
Yeah, actually, my mom is probably listening. I love you. I hope you're feeling well this morning, and I'll give you a call in a little bit. Would not allow me to have me or my brother. We couldn't have a dog or anything in the house. So really didn't have a real pet until I graduated from high school and was in college. I had a little Pomeranian, and it was a tiny little guy. I got caught with him in the dorm. So my mom had to keep him for a couple weeks because it was almost at Christmas break. So she kept Casey for a couple weeks. By the time I got home for Christmas, I think she had her little baby. She loved him. And so I had Casey, and Casey passed after about 13 years. And then I went 22 years without another pet because I just couldn't yet. And now I have Champ, and I am 100% a puppy mom, and like that puppy mom that people would hate because I think he should be able to go any place, which he does. Yeah. So two Pomeranian puppies. That's been my pet life. I actually had a hamster. Do you want to know the hamster story? So even if you don't, I'm going to tell it. I had a hamster when I was in college, and hamsters are just tiny little hamsters, and I shouldn't tell this story. So I opened up my dorm door, and we know how heavy those dorm doors are. And I just heard crunch, and I crunched my hamster in the door as I opened it. So those were my pets.
Well, you know what's going to save you from PETA is the fact that your friend Pat dropped an F-bomb today. So that's what's going to save you today. But no, that's, that's the thing, though. And I do want to let you know I started 2 hashtags on our feed. And Josh put pets are family, too. Ross put have a great show. Tito Colon from the Boxing Hall of Fame said good morning to everybody here. And I started 2 hashtags for Champ. One says hashtag pro champ, and the other one says champ for pilot. So I'm... trying to make sure
he's asleep this whole time. He's been asleep on my lap.
Oh wow! So he hasn't even moved. He's been good, because normally we see him run around a little bit. So with that being said, Boxing Bob Newman, you could find him with FightNews.com, photojournalist, and one of the longest standing members of that staff since back in 1999. So Bob, I want to thank you for being a part of today's show. As I told you off the air, would love to talk with you again. Loved our conversation yesterday as well. And I truly appreciate you being a part of today and sharing time with us and sharing some stories with us as well.
Thanks, Dan. It was a pleasure and a privilege, and I'd love to come back anytime.
All right, well, sounds good. Well, take care of yourself. Say hi to your wife, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. I will do. And talk to you later, ladies. And Pat, I'll be looking for that tie-dye t-shirt sometime soon.
If I get my t-shirt guy to get in touch with me. Get him soon, though.
And we'll be coming by for some food, too.
Awesome.
Right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. So take care. So here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we're going to do one more round since we always do rapid fire together. So Christy and Pat, you guys get to ask each other, and then, I'll include myself in here in some way. But I want to sit back and see what you guys are going to ask each other today, because Pat's getting a little bit feisty, and Christy's always feisty. So we got to have some fun with this. So Christy, you get to ask Pat a question. What do you got?
Oh my goodness. Really, the questions that are going through my mind, I can't ask on air.
You can pretty much do anything, as Pat has proven today on air. So.
Right. Yeah, but it's okay. I didn't mean to wake you up there, bud. Pat, for those 12 hours that you were driving home from Myrtle Beach, were you thinking that you're never going to come to another Christy Martin show?
Hell no. I would never think that. The 12 hours, I never would have made it if you didn't send me the link to the fights and I could listen to that horrendous announcer that did the fights.
Yeah. I think when I sent that to you,
opinions the way we did. So
when I sent that, I was, yeah, I was like, Pat, if you want something that's going to help keep you awake for 12 hours, here, this will do it. And it's going to keep you awake, not because of his excitement that he brought to the show, but from the negativity and the just asshole that he was.
Shock and awe.
Well, what was that? 5 hours.
I was like, did he just say that? And did he just say that again? Personally, I think your next fight should be in Myrtle Beach, and it should be Mayhem and Myrtle 8, and the main event should be Skip against the announcer.
Right.
So that we all can see him get his ass kicked the way he deserves, because he ruined that TV coverage. He was horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
And you know what? This guy shows up in a freaking t-shirt, with his hair not combed. And I mean, I know some mornings I get on here and my hair doesn't exactly look perfect, but come on, man. And I do have it on a t-shirt, but it's a Christy Martin Promotions t-shirt. Yes, this man shows up to do a live stream commentating with a t-shirt on. I mean, come on, dude. If you couldn't afford a button-up shirt, let me know. I'll pay for that.
Yeah,
he didn't have anything good to say. Like, just saying that, they must have got this guy off the street. Like attacking Skip the way he did. I've been around Skip for years, and probably the first half of them, he wouldn't even give me the time of day if I said hi to him. Never a response, nothing, just walk away. But through the years, I've talked to him and stuff, and I got to tell you, I do respect him a little bit, because he's dealing with young men that, they don't have anywhere to go. If they don't do this, they could end up in jail. Because they don't have the mindset to do the right thing. And he's trying to teach them and help them. And not everybody he brings to a fight should come to a fight. But when your card falls apart 10 days before the fight and you've got to replace people because perfectly well fighters backed out on you because they're scared, right. They're chicken. People don't want to fight now. And, so Skip kind of saves the day sometimes. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But right. When you've got less than 10 days to put a fighter on a card so you don't have to cancel, Skip gets it done for you. And, he tells them to fight, but he can't make them fight. And they get in that ring, and some of them, you can see the scaredness in their eyes, just like, man, I do not want to be here. And they'll fall down without even getting punched. But then there's fighters that come, and they're gamers, So the commentary by that guy about Skip, Skip should get one round with him.
Well,
in the ring.
Well,
shut him the hell up.
We got a message here. Josh wrote in, he was the worst. Just talk down on everyone. Skip would kick his blank. So that's what we got that came in here today.
And maybe it shouldn't be in a ring. Maybe it should be on the beach outside the hotel.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But,
well, you know what? The whole thing is, it wasn't just his attack on Skip. He has attacked by attacking Skip and attacking the show. It attacked me. It hurt me personally. It hurt me professionally. Worse than personally, because I have thick skin that Don King told me a long time ago. If you're going to be in this business, you have to develop. So look, I don't really give a shit if you want to hurt me, but pull me off to the side and tell me that. Don't blast me out, and then I had to pay you. That's the shitty part. And I gave the wife and the kids free tickets and took care of them. But he forgot to mention Trey Stout from West Virginia. Was if we want to say A and B side, it was a good fight. He said Trey had a background in MMA. Trey never even wrestled in high school. So I mean, he didn't even have facts straight. Trey lost to a tough fighter. That was never given any credibility to Christopher per year from down in Jacksonville, Florida. Not given any credibility. Zach Randolph, who is a credible light heavyweight from West Virginia, was knocked out by a guy, Talik Taylor, that this guy referred to basically as a skip guy. And Tyleek knocked him out. So, but he never said, "Oh wow, Skip's in that corner and the guy just won." The women's fight, Melissa Hernandez and Carla Torres, was a. You could put that on anything. You could put that on HBO. You could put that on Showtime. You could put that on the Zone. No credibility. So it's just like this guy walked in with a chip on his shoulder, and I'm gonna basically screw Christy, and he did. But you know what? Fuck you, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. So there you go, Dan.
Yeah.
We have two.
He didn't even know the fighters' names half the time. He was just calling them blue corner, red corner. You know? And then when he had the mic and he said, well, you gave me a mic, so I'm going to say what I want, basically. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And the unprofessionalism and the disrespect, you know, if that was in the job world, he would have been fired on.
And I want you have to, and I mean, listen, it's not an easy job to do, to be a broadcaster, and I think a lot of people think it's easy, and it's not. It's definitely not an easy job to do. But when you are a broadcaster and you are, you know, number one, you have to be impartial. You know, so if you see two boxers that you like, you got to be able to be impartial, and you got to be able to tell a story. And when you're at any event, there's the difference between, okay, maybe I don't like this thing, maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I don't agree with this thing, and maybe, you know, whatever it may be. This is what I'm trying to say. And Christy, you can still hear me okay, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. So what I look at and what I see when it comes down to all of this is there's a way to be and there's a way not to be. And when you're a broadcaster on a show, when you're commentating an event, whatever it may be, what I was really getting at here, and to clear my thoughts and really just talk about this, when you step to a microphone, you have an obligation, in my opinion, you have an obligation to tell the truth. You have an obligation to know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, to get the information that you need to get so that you can know what you're talking about. There is no wiggle room when you turn a mic on of being someone who seeks to personally attack, who seeks to destroy something. I think the media in today's world has thought, hey, as long as I have a microphone and I have people who will watch me, I can say and do whatever I want. Freedom of speech is not the freedom to be a jerk. It's not the freedom to be an a-hole. It's not the freedom to attack. There are consequences to your freedom of speech. And do I get on the mic sometimes and has something happened to me and I had someone disrespect me within the last couple days, and everything inside of me was like, this guy's a joke. But to me, I handled it diplomatically, off the air, to the best of my ability. And I know that I did the right thing. And I know that from here on out, if he continues to do the wrong thing, I have nothing to worry about because the conversation's been had. There's a time and a place to say what you need to say. There's a time and a place to stick up for yourself. But this whole notion of shock jock, I'm going to get on a microphone, I'm going to say crazy things, I'm going to do stuff. What people don't seem to understand is what you do on a mic today could ruin that relationship that you have with that person or those people for the rest of your life. And I can honestly say, with over 4,000 people that have been on the show and every event that I've been to, I've never been told, please don't come back to this event. I've never had a credential stripped from me. I've never burned a bridge, because no matter how you feel about something or what your thoughts are on something, you're supposed to tell a story impartially, like I said, honestly, and you're supposed to lead with love and lead with compassion. Anybody that uses a microphone to defame, shame, destroy, attack, slander, whatever it may be, those people that use microphones to hurt other people, eventually, whether or not they notice it, God cuts the cord. And I'm not saying that that person is, cuts the cord like they die. I'm not saying that. I'm saying God cuts the cord on that microphone, because there is a reality to you get what you give. And I get up here every morning doing exactly what I love. I mean, I love what I do what I love. And people have said to me, why don't you take this opinion? Why don't you do this? Why aren't you more edgy? Why aren't you more attacking? And because they want to get the likes up. That's not what broadcasting is about. I wasn't there. And if I was, I would obviously be very protective of my people, of good people, of Christy. And so I think anybody that steps behind a microphone, personally attacks, shames, defames, and seeks to destroy something should understand that karma is only a bee if you slap her.
Yeah, and just for him, this is just a simple thing of not knowing the names of the fighters when you have a program in front of you and you're calling them red and blue corners.
Yeah.
Like, how disrespectful and lazy are you? I think he owes an apology to all those fighters and to Country Box for what he did, and to the fans that were watching it, because they were served a shit show and they didn't pay for that.
No. And I think, I mean, I don't know. I've been at some bad games. Well, this is the thing, right? So if he didn't agree with the boxing and the fights and the level of competition, I've commentated numerous basketball games where one of the teams was horrendous. I did a basketball game when a team was down by 40 points. And I never, ever was like, oh, I hate being here. Screw this place. What a terrible show. I mean, how many times how many Super Bowls have been awful? Remember a few years ago, there was a Patriots Super Bowl where I was begging someone to just score when they played the Rams. And, we've been at a ton of sporting events where things don't go as planned, and you continue to commentate and you continue to do your job. There's no, I've been to movies, and when I go to a movie and I don't like the movie, I don't throw popcorn at the screen and go and dump my soda on the guy that's working there and tell him to give me my money back. If the movie's bad, it's not his fault. And I'm sure that nobody set out to spend hours and months creating a movie saying, I hope this is bad and I hope everybody hates the thing that I spent half of the year on. So you may not agree with. Yeah, you may not agree with something. You may not like something, but at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, at the middle of the day, be a good person. Understand that having a microphone in front of your face is a privilege. And if you can't honor that privilege and you can't be good to people, then do something else behind closed doors. Go be a telemarketer, because people don't like those people, and you can fight with people every day. So, all right, Christy, what's your question Pat, what's your question for Christy?
Oh boy, now you got me all distracted and I forgot. I know that the announcer was a problem, but it's partly on Country Box, I think, because they didn't show up too. So, but for your fight cards, the amount of work that we all put in for it and stuff, at the end of the day, after the fights and after we went to the dollhouse and, everybody's kind of together and relaxing and having some beers and watching the fight, do you feel that it's worth it? Because I personally feel like it's worth it. I don't see the numbers, the final numbers, and I know, every fight there's things that come up that you have to pay for that you don't want to, and you don't need to, and it takes away from your profits. But I feel like we're just so close to being that event that draws more people in. The venue that we're at is awesome. I think it's a great place to have a fight. They work with us nicely in that. But at some point, I know you probably say, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore," but I think you really enjoy it. And do you want to keep pushing on for this, because you're so good at it, Christy? And
Well, thank you, Pat.
and I know how hard it is, and it's just like we're just so close. We're like one or two people away from being like, okay, we can do this all the time, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also see the frustration.
As far as the numbers for the weekend, I was so smashed and slammed yesterday because we have Nashville with Country Box on Tuesday, a week from today. So today I'll sit down and actually go through the numbers and see. I think we're close to breaking even. And I do feel like we're close to like getting over the hump. And probably had we had Tony Aguilar and Julio Mendoza on the show, it would have helped the numbers. I'm pretty certain we had that Mexican, they're warriors, and that really brings out the Mexican crowd there.
Their style brings it in, definitely.
Their styles are great. They have great energy, and I moved Tony off the show because he will be fighting on the Zone August 18th, as I mentioned. A big opportunity for him. Julio was scheduled to fight on the show, but honestly, he was going to fight this guy that's like 6'5". He has no heart. The opponent has no heart, and so he just pulled out on Julio. So we lost those two fights that would have been very good fights and exciting. But Tony had a better opportunity, and Julio there was nothing we could do about that one. I've already asked the arena if they had an available date in November. They don't. So it's like that, I just don't know. I mean, and Pat, the truth is, without Shannon down there at Beast Boxing in Myrtle Beach, we couldn't make it happen, because she's boots on the ground, getting all the sponsors together, tickets, helping with ticket sales. She does everything, and she does it for nothing. She gets no payment. She gets nothing. She does it for trying to help bring boxing to Myrtle Beach, and hopefully the fights help bring boxing to Beast Boxing Gym, which is a really great boxing gym there in Myrtle Beach. So the answer to your question is I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. We'll keep working with Nashville and Country Box. We'll see what Tony Aguilar does on the Zone. Keemon Evans will have to come back from his defeat on Showbox, and we'll see. We'll see if these two guys can help. We have Victor Hernandez, a 128-pounder that is starting to catch some fire over in Nashville. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Myrtle Beach, if we could get the travelers, because there's got to be people that go down there that like boxing, and they don't have anything to do at night because they've been at the beach all day. And I think if we could figure out a way to pull some more people in, it would be good.
I was really hoping that the tourist season would be a more positive outcome for us. We picked up. I spent money for promotion through the social media stuff. Shannon has the big, huge billboard on one of the most popular streets in Myrtle Beach, and it's just. I talked with Shannon yesterday, and it's just like I don't know what else we can do. I just don't know what else we can do.
Well, this is the thing that I know. Yeah. If Christy, if you're behind it and you care about it, I believe in it. So, I mean, that's how it is. And I think a lot of people feel that way, that, if you put your name on it, there's obviously validity to it and worth to it. So whatever you do next, is going to be something special. You know, you have Pat and I in your corner. You have Lisa. You have so many people. You got Bob, of course, who is with us today. And you got Champ. And you have Lily. And you have Pat's,
Right.
you know, rambunctious dogs there, too. So, you know, I want to thank you both for today. I want to thank you both for the conversation. I want to thank you both for making history for not the first, but the first 2 F-bombs on Wake Up Call. And always pushing the term. And I think that I'm owed some free tacos today. But with that being said, I want to. Well, you got to keep it real. I understand. Said for boxing photographer and the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox on 6630 Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, Pat Orr, as well as photojournalist of FightNews.com, who is with us, Boxing Bob Newman, and the International Boxing Hall of Famer, our champ, Christy Salters Martin. Thank you for being a part of today's show in Christy's Corner, and I look forward to talking with you both very soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
Take care.
You too.
Thanks. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, we appreciate you being here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we're going to be ending the show a little bit earlier today. Reason why we're doing it, and typically we go over, so we have definitely put in our hours here for sure, but we're going to end this show a little bit earlier because I want to make sure I am at the introductory press conference for Syracuse football as we get ready to kick off this 2023 season. So youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. Find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, Player FM, Podvine, tune in. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Big thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, Monpaz, Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the Wildcat Sports Pub, 317 at Montgomery Street, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Chick-fil-A Clay, Great Lakes Honda City, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Watertown, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avicolli's, Mother's Cupboard. Thank you to everybody who has been a part of our wonderful history on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. I love the team that we've assembled, including our fantastic exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Lemoyne College, Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, and Alfred University. So many great things coming up on Wake Up Call, and I can't wait to share them with you, as well as on Super Powered Pop, another show that we have on Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's slate here and something that we do within my company. Massive news happening today at my area code time. 315 today, Eastern Time. 315 p.m. Eastern Time today. Superpowered Pop has a massive announcement of something that's never happened before, and I can't wait to share that with you. My ingredients to success, really quick here, proudly presented by Avicolli's. My ingredients to success, the topic for today is be proud to be who you are. And how do we get there? Don't let anybody take you down. I know it's easier said than done, but listen, folks, you have to know who you are. I've had many conversations. Christy talked about it today. Pat talked about it today. Bob and I spoke about it off the air. Many people will judge you. Many people will say things about you. Many people will try to defame you, deface you. They'll treat you differently. You won't understand why. You won't get it. You won't know it. Take something from my book and learn from me. Don't let it drive you nuts. Don't let it get you down. It's easier said than done. But I can tell you from personal experience, it's a waste of time to worry about other people. It's a waste of time to wonder why people don't treat you the way that you want them to treat you. Be the best person you can be. Be kind. Work hard. Do what you say you're going to do. Make sure that you show up and make sure you are the person that you say you are. If you do everything that you can, you be the best you can be, and you do everything that you possibly can to go out there and help this world and do good in this world. You have nothing to apologize for. Let your conscience be your guide. Believe in yourself. Be the best you possibly can be, and understand that though life isn't perfect, you should know who you are, be proud of who you are, be thankful for the opportunity and the life that you had. Don't let anybody take away from you who you are, why you are, and what you are. Be proud, be you, be happy, be grateful for your life, and give it all you got every day. Ingredients to success. Be yourself and stop apologizing for being the best person you can be. God bless you. Have a great day. And as always, God bless